Okay, in this part of our project, what we're gonna do is to go through the steps on how we can configure the controller. We should configure the controller node and all the other systems that we want to provision or configure using Ansible playbooks. So we're gonna go to step number one when we first begin by configuring our controller node. And let's go to the command line here. But the first thing that we have to do here is we're gonna need to log into to access our Ansible. And because these are Linux systems, we will have to use a secure shell to take care of that. And because we're using secure shell, we're gonna need the PAM key. Remember, we created also a PAM key. Then we will need the server's host name or fully qualified name or whatever, the server's host name. That's what we need. We're gonna need the server's IP address in case we don't have the full name. But when you go back to your console here, this is our Ansible controller, right? So we're gonna go here, just click on the instance ID. So you click there, then go to connect here. See top right, click connect. And once you get there, the steps that you're gonna need to use. I mean, these are the several ways that you can connect to your machine here. You can use EC2 Instance Connect, or you can use Session Manager, but we're gonna use, in our case, SSH client, because we want to connect to this machine or this EC2 instance from our local machine and then, play with the machine. How do you do that? You need to have an SSH client on your local machine, and then you're gonna need to locate your private key. Let's go back here. The way I wrote my script, if you ls here, after running the bash shell script, this one here, will make sure that your Ansible PAM key is stored on in the location where you need to be. And because it's here, so we're gonna SSH access our local machine, our EC2 instances from this location here. So this is where you need to be, where you have your key, your PAM key. I'll clear my screen. You go back here. The first thing you're gonna need to do is to copy this here. So you're gonna need to copy this. And then after you copy that, you go here and you do that. You're changing permissions on the file. And then the next thing you will need to do, if this is your first time doing this, you're gonna need to copy this command here. We go back to our command line here, and I'm gonna explain this command. So what this command does is that it allows you to SSH. It's gonna allow you to SSH into this machine here. This is our EC2 instance. This is our controller node, and this is the address. This is the username, and this is the name of the machine. For AWS, and it could be just an IP address here. You can just use the IP address to do that, but you need this PAM key, and we're using double quotation marks here because it's not just a simple word. Okay, so it's a complex word. You have the dash, you have the second part here, and a third dot, and so on. That's why you use this. And then the dash I is to ignore upper lowercase sensitivity. So what you do, you just press enter, type in yes. You're gonna clear your screen, and this is where we start now. We're gonna start now configuring our system here. So I'm gonna do sudo apt get update, meaning that we want to make sure that everything like packages, binaries, and dependencies, I mean everything on the system is up to date. So we're gonna make sure that it's up to date. Clear your screen, and the next thing that you're gonna do is to install the software properties, and this, it's kind of like preparing your environment. Not kind of, you're preparing your environment. So you're gonna need the software properties common, and press enter, and yes there. And then after doing this, we will add the Ansible repository. And to do that, you're gonna do sudo. We're gonna do sudo here. I'll just move that up. We're gonna do sudo apt. We're gonna add the repository, and this is the command to do that. And in this case, it's gonna be the Ansible repositories from the Ansible official website. So we're gonna press enter there, and then enter here. I forget about what you saw there by mistake. I pressed like F, so forget that. And then now we need to update again packages and the ones that we have also just added. So that's done. And now what we need to do is to install Ansible. So we're gonna install Ansible on this controller node. After you do this, the next thing we will be doing is to generate a key. And this SSH key on the controller will allow, it's going to allow this server or controller node to communicate with all of the other systems that will be managing off of this machine here. And then this will take a little bit of time depending on the kind of EC2 instances that you have and your internet, and depending on so many other things. And my machine, it's one of the smallest, so in terms of capacity, but I mean the EC2 instance type that we chose, you find about that if you go to the bash shell script to set up the cluster, and you're gonna see it's t2.micro. So it doesn't have a lot of capacity, and that's why it may probably take a little bit of time. Here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pause the video and then come back when it's done. Okay, it is done. I'll clear my screen, and as I said, we need to go. Usually, actually, the command is this one here. If you were, in my case, I'm already using this, saying the home directory for the specific machine. So I'm gonna here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to that, and then when you get there, if you ls, you see that we have this, and what we need to do here is to generate an SSH key, which will also be stored here. Okay, and to do that, you just run this command ssh -keygen, and you can specify the location where you want to store your key pair, but since we are already here, and this is the right place where you need to save your keys, so just run the command, and then here, enter file. You can either give it a name if you want, passphrase, but just enter until when you get to the end. You'll get to this point here. And once you get there, if you clear your screen and ls, you want to see two things here. So this is your private. You don't want to share the private key. You want to share the public key, okay? If you cat the, let's go to the next line here. If you cat the ID pub key, you're going to see this. You copy this and then put it on all the nodes that you want to manage. You're going to put this on here. So you go to all of the systems that you want to manage. You update them. If they are not updated, then you go to this file here, the authorized keys. That's where you're going to store this information here. And meaning that we go now to step number 2. So step number 2, we're going to leave this one here, open a new terminal. Make sure you are in the same place where the key is, okay? And what we will do is pretty much the same steps, like SSH into your EC2 instance. So I'm gonna do this and skip. I'm gonna do that, but I don't want to show that to you again, to show it to you again. So I'll pause my video, SSH into those two systems that we want to manage, and then we get to the point of configuring them. I'll show you how to do that. But for now, I'll pause my video. All right, so I have SSH into the two systems that we want to manage. And for your project, it may probably be 50 or 100 systems. And to SSH in these systems, you cannot automate. I mean, you can, but you can even create a script to update all of these systems, and that's like another video that I can add to this to this project. And I plan on doing that as soon as I can. But for now, what I want to do is just to show you what I've done here. So you have I have SSH into my Amazon Linux here, and then this is the Ubuntu node. So I have all of those here. So I'm gonna make sure that you can see them. Okay, so I have this, and this is our controller. Okay, I showed you this, and what we need to do first, we're gonna need to update the systems. It's a good practice to do. You're gonna do for the Amazon Linux. You're gonna need to do the yum update, and then dash y to say okay, answer yes to all of the questions. So you wanna do that. That's done. Let's see, the Ubuntu is also done, and then after doing that, we need to install. We're gonna need to install Python. Ansible need Python, so we'll do the install Python here. So it looks like, okay, this means, okay, let's do it on Amazon and see what happens first here. So we're gonna install Python here. So we're gonna say yes, why? Okay, so that's install. Okay, back to Ubuntu here. So we're gonna do apt get. Let's so they're gonna say, however, the following packages replace it 223. So we're gonna use Python here. So we're gonna use that. So it's gonna be, we can excuse me. You can either use this one here, that's optional, but you can just use the Python 3 here. So we're gonna say install Python 3. And always when you come across an error, don't panic. Just read the message. Systems, they only do what they are taught to do. Okay, so it may be a syntax in your command, or it may be you're using a deprecated package that you want to install, which doesn't get support, and then the system will say you cannot use this anymore, something like that. All right, so let's run this. Okay, so you see it's already the newest version, so we should be good. And after we now do this, what we need to do, we'll go to the same place here. So you're gonna go, if you do SSH, your ls, you're gonna see we have authorize here, and what you need to do is to edit this file here, because if you cat authorized, you see there's already something else here. So we're gonna add a new line, and to do that, since we are already here, you'll just do nano authorized, or you can, if you were like doing this here, you're gonna need to do nano. So let's use sudo. You're gonna need to be root to do that. And remember, you can use you can use vim or vi to edit this file. So we're gonna say SSH, and then it's gonna give you this file. Press enter, and this is where we're going to add this here. So you just copy from the controller. See the controller? Just copy, go to your Ubuntu, and then press the downward arrow on your keyboard to go to the next line. You can do even enter to separate the two keys. And once you're done here, you see it's kind of like the same thing here, but here it's a little bit different because we use a different key type. And okay, so Control X and Shift Y to save. So we've saved it, and you're gonna do the same thing on the AZ Linux here. So to make it a little bit faster, you just do sudo nano. Okay, so go here, paste it, see, and then you do the same, add the second line, go back here, get this one here from the controller, back to your second machine that you want to manage, Control X, and then say, yes, I want to save, and write this. So now that you have done this, you can go back to your controller. So let's go here, and I'll lower this here. So you see we have the controller and the two nodes here. So if you go back to the controller, you clear your screen. So now what we can do is to test the connection. So you want to test the connection by going to the controller, see here, and I do SSH. So you can SSH into the system. Like the Ubuntu, you're gonna begin with Ubuntu as the username. So you're gonna say Ubuntu as the username. You're gonna do that, and then the IP address. This is the IP address. So I'm gonna do that. So I wanna SSH into that. So if you press enter, it's gonna ask you, hey, all of this stuff here, and say yes. Let's try and see here. So now you see we've been connected. So if you read this, it says permanently added. Sorry about that. Permanently added this where to the list of known hosts, meaning that on the controller and to the authorized keys, right? We're gonna find the address of the system here, and then so we'll check on both the controller and the other system. So you're gonna do this here, and this is the private IP address of the Ubuntu node. You see, it ends with 124, right? So if you go here, it ends with 124. And if you go to your systems here, go to instances. Let's look for the Ubuntu worker node. Here it is. So I click there. You see, this is the private, this is the public, and this is the private. You see, that's the exact private IP address that we have, meaning that we are now able to access the system from the Ubuntu, the controller node. So that's done. To get out, just do exit. When you do exit, you're gonna come back to the controller, and this is the controller. You see here, different IP address. We're gonna do the same SSH into the Amazon Linux. So now the Amazon Linux, it's a little bit different. You see the username here, it's EC2-user. For the Ubuntu, it's Ubuntu. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you're gonna say EC2. Let's go back here. EC2-user. EC2-user, and then the public IP address. Remember, the private, you don't use that. Only public to connect from the outside. So we're gonna do that. It's gonna do the same thing here. So you do a yes, and then guess what? We are connected. So look at this here, 31-20. Let's go to the node here. So 31-20. That's how you do it. So this is testing the connection. It's testing the connection. Let's go to the Ubuntu here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cat this file here. So I'll do cat here. So you see, now this appears. This is from the controller node. This is from the controller node. If you do this here, SSH, authorized, when you cat this here, sorry about that. So you cat, not this, you cat the public key. So it's gonna be this one here. So if when you cat this, this is what you see here. You see, you're gonna see 31-192 here. See? So it belongs to here, and now it's also on the other, and which is good. So now on the Ubuntu, if you see when you cat this, before we only had this one here, and now we have added this, meaning that these two systems can communicate. You can do the same on the next system here, you see it's also here. And that's why they can communicate. So let's clear the screen. We're gonna clear the screen. And what we want to do now, we'll go to step number 3. Step number 3, what we'll be doing is to configure the website content, and which will require the HTML. And then after that, we configure our Ansible inventory. So we're gonna, you know what? Let's skip step number 3, because we'll not be writing that HTML file for our website content. We already have it. We're gonna go now to step number 3. In the next video, we'll configure the etc host. We're gonna configure a couple of files there, or just one file, and then we verify the inventory file. First, we configure the etc Ansible host file. Then we configure the inventory file. We create the inventory file. The inventory file, it's very helpful, because you use it for more complex configuration management projects, rather than just using the etc Ansible host. Okay, so we're gonna configure that, and then we will test that first, and eventually we'll deploy our web application. So I'm gonna stop now, and I'll see you in the next video.